I think now after COVID and realizing that with this current state of what sneaker culture is and the sneaker industry on a whole, we should probably be community focused. We need to be centralized and we need to have a base. So we luckily found a base in one of the best neighborhoods in all of New York City, which I'm biased, but it just happens to be in Brooklyn, the DUMBO section, nestled right under the Manhattan Bridge, in an area that's known for art, food, you know, TV and film, and just overall great views of most of the city.
So we're going to climb into this, man, as a conversation, as opposed to just, you know, going all in. Mm-hmm. Let me jump into this introduction. Hey, I came prepared today. See what I got, right?
Yeah, right. I just finished exchanging a couple of emails with Bob this morning.
Yeah, I know he'll love to see these, man. Kimball Walker, all of the New Yorkers, man. This is bonkers. Blackjack.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm starting this video. I'm running my mouth. I haven't done any introductions. There's no name for the podcast or the video series, but I'm going to start getting into talking to people, one that I super admire in the industry, who I know have put the work in, especially when they're doing something amazing. So Sean Williams, right? Sean Williams, an obsessive sneaker disorder, have been around for over 15 years.
Yep.
But now they've completely changed the game by creating a physical space for educating and building a sneaker community that's much more informed on the business aspects of it, the history, and what he's doing is super important, because I think it's going to lead to an implementation in business schools across the country of sneaker culture from a business aspect. So what I want to do is I want to make sure Sean introduces himself and gives you guys the rundown of what he's working on, because it's super important. The people that are involved are dope. D, we love D. We love the obsessive, sneaker disorder squad, man. I mean, it's just, I'm so excited to be talking about this. So I want you to explain to everybody what you're working on, especially with the office that you're sitting in now.
Yes, sir.
Because people really don't understand where you're sitting is so important to why I'm excited. All right, so please introduce yourself.
Thank you, CV. Thank you, man. First and foremost, man, before people even know who I am, they've been watching you. And I got to say thank you to you for everything you've been doing to be a valid voice of reason, not only just insight and intelligence, but reason in what happens in our beloved footwear industry. So thank you for that. I'm excited for you launching this new podcast. For those of you who are watching, I am Sean Williams, co-founder of Obsessive Sneaker Disorder and the SOLEcial Studies CommUNITY Academy, based in the DUMBO section of Brooklyn. OSD, as we're called affectionately throughout the industry. D and I created the first sneaker podcast in the industry in 2007, and which basically ushered in the whole realm of what is now known as like a sneaker media segment of the media industry. So we were the first ones to kick in the door on podcasting and talking about sneakers in that space, a talk show of any kind, which led to us also in 2009 creating the first 24/7 digital sneaker TV network called OSD TV. So with the popularity of the show and with some conversations that also came from the show, they also ended up lending themselves to becoming curriculum. So in 2011, we launched the SOLEcial Studies Sneaker Industry Education Program, which was centered around teaching all of the business and culture of sneakers. So that means everything in the industry outside of design. we have our beloved brother, DeWayne Edwards, who founded the Pensole Footwear Design Academy, which is now Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design from last year. He's the vanguard. He's leading the way in what teaching sneaker design and design-related professions is. And we are on the other side of that, teaching all of the other aspects of what you should be learning and what you should be paying attention to in the sneaker industry. We, as of the timing of your beloved viewers watching this, just launched, opened officially, the SOLEcial Studies CommUNITY Academy in the DUMBO section of Brooklyn. So we are happy about being able to finally launch after a 5-year journey trying to get our community-based HQ established, having to go through the ups and downs of meeting with folks and seeing spaces and some things potentially happening and some things not. We are happily finally open. We have some great co-founding partners, first of which is our charitable partner, the organization Healing Souls, with my guy Steve Muir and his family-based organization that has been taking sneaker donations in and distributing them around the Caribbean and around New York and even other parts of the country. And the other partner is our esteemed brother who many around the world know from one of the most famous and beloved hip hop groups on the planet, A Tribe Called Quest. Ali Shaheed Muhammad is our other co-founding partner.
All right, I gotta pull the record back. Hold on. Say that again. Say that again.
Ali Shaheed Muhammad is our co-founding partner as well. He is a beloved Brooklynite, quietly a sneaker lover, very quietly, has always been a supporter of what we've done in OSD and still loves his beloved Brooklyn. So when the opportunity came up and the conversation was had about becoming a part of this, he didn't even hesitate. So we got some great partners, man. We've been working with Healing Souls for upwards past 5 years and working with them in partnership with the great work they've been doing. And we just wanted to make sure that we finally had a community-centric base so that we can, on top of always traveling and having partnerships with colleges and universities around the world, and I do mean around the world. We've worked with colleges and universities and organizations around the world, but it was more of a have sneakers will travel type situation. We would go wherever we feel the love was and that we people found value in what we were offering. So I think now after COVID and realizing that with this current state of what sneaker culture is and the sneaker industry on a whole, we should probably be community focused. We need to be centralized and we need to have a base. So we luckily found a base in one of the best neighborhoods in all of New York City, which I'm biased, but it just happens to be in Brooklyn, the DUMBO section, nestled right under the Manhattan Bridge, in an area that's known for art, food, TV and film, and just overall great views of most of the city.
Now, I gotta explain to people why this is important. The majority of programs in the sneaker industry tend to float, or they're operated by people in a particular area and there's no real base. The reason it's important for sneaker culture to have an educational and business base in Brooklyn is because the association to hip hop, and I don't celebrate the fact that Ali Shaheed Muhammad is a part of it because of his status and who he is. That's important, but the simple fact that hip hop created this thing.
Yeah,
we were brown shoe people. People were wearing Sebagos or Rockports or Timberlands or whatever. We were brown shoe people until hip hop said sneakers are not just for playtime anymore. They're for b-boying. They're for making sure you can get away. If you're putting some graph up on the train, you can get away. You can wear these sneakers. It's your outfit for going to the club. The changing of laces to make a pair look fresh because we didn't have the money. Hip hop has been at the foundation of everything about this. And the fact that you're able to be in one of the most expensive places in Brooklyn.
Second most expensive in all of New York City is DUMBO.
It's an incredible accomplishment, and to have a physical location that we call home, it's the idea that people can say, hey, Cedric Ave is like the base of hip hop. That's where it started. We can now give a location of where the educational and business aspects of the sneaker industry, because I love what Dr. Edwards is doing at Pensole. I love it. But it's really centered around design, colorist, people who are creating the product. It's not as focused on this area where you have supply chain, logistics, marketing, data. All of these different things are overlooked, and sneaker culture tends to think that they can only be one thing. So everybody sits around and talks about taking L's and not getting the latest drop. And they're not talking about all of these things where they could be getting jobs in the industry. And what's amazing about what you and D have done all of these years, it's been happening inside of colleges. So sneaker culture, if I go to X sneaker website, I don't see OSD.
No.
It's not on there because it ain't hip. It ain't cool. It ain't the hype. But you're inside of colleges. So can you tell everybody where you've taught the curriculum, where this curriculum began to be built? Because I think you've been at like Division I schools and community colleges, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Philadelphia has been a great space for us where in 2018, I became a ranking scholar in residence at Drexel University with the Westfall College of Art and Design.
Hold up. We got to, Ali Shaheed, we got to run that back. Explain that. And once again, ranking scholar
in residence for Drexel University, Westfall College of Media, Arts, and Design in Philadelphia. First one from the culture to ever achieve anything like that at a large Division I school. We brought in the social studies program. We also created a sneaker exhibition in the lobby of Westfall College called the Soul of Philadelphia that was in residence for the entire year. We taught social studies there for the year. We have a great relationship with Drexel, which is a very large university. Shout out to Joe Hancock, who he was the vanguard and the champion for social studies and sneaker education coming in. And also with Community College of Philadelphia. Shout out to Kristen Ainscoe over there. San Jose State University. Shout out to my guy Travis Boyce over there. LIM College. There's so many people over there to name. So, you know, we have touched on a lot, you know. There have been organizations around the country that actually get it, you know, and like LIM is a fashion college here in New York City that's over 80 years old. You know, Philadelphia, they obviously knew their connection to sports had to draw them some connection to sneakers. San Jose State University, which is, as we know, the alma mater of, you know, Jean Carlos and Tommy Smith. So they've always known the connection between sneakers and sports activism, and they instantly saw the value of social studies being there. So
that's important. I had to stop you real quick because you just said something that a lot of people don't get about the 68 Olympics. Puma. And the brothers that came from San Jose State. Can you repeat that again about San Jose State? Because people will hear these names, and I'm afraid that because sneaker culture is so wrapped up in just the shoes, they don't get the importance of what you just said there.
So San Jose State University is the alma mater of John Carlos and Tommy Smith, who were in that infamous image everyone around the world has seen of the two black men standing on the metal podium with their shoes off and their black fist in the air. They're San Jose State alums. San Jose State has always sort of paid reverence to them, and there's actually statues on campus for them. The head of African American Studies there, my dude Travis Boyce, he instantly, once he met me, actually he met me through Drexel, and once he took the head position of African American Studies out there at San Jose State, he said, "This is where you got to come and you got to talk about some things," And it's important that, we do take stock of the colleges and universities that do get it and do see where their student base, be it underrepresented, like San Jose State that has a very small Black population, but, their history and things that cater to them having access to industry should be on campus. And then places like Drexel, who, again, they understand their connection to sport, which, dotted line to sneakers, all the history of Dr. J and Charles Barkley and the like. LIM College here in New York, the fashion capital of the world. There's so many places that don't get it, like you said, that don't see the value in providing education for this $100 billion a year industry. And we decided a long time ago, with the popularity of OSD, when we started getting opportunities and brands started hiring us for consulting, we sort of, after a while, did a deep dive because we were getting called out for the same thing. And it was like, if you really had people who worked for your company of color and of certain backgrounds, you wouldn't need us, and, they were honest. We really don't know how to reach them. And then we went to the other side of it, and people were like, well, the sneaker industry is cool, but we don't know anything about the industry. So we, by default, with the social studies program, became the bridge between the two, because it's one thing to tell somebody that you can get in, you can get down with that, but then what are they going to do when they get there? And then on the other side of it, the brands were humble enough, at least the people that we've worked with over the years, were humble enough to say, we honestly don't know how to reach those people that we know should be working here.
Now, everything that you've done is built up to this program.
Yes.
And I want everyone to know what the name of the program is.
Yep.
And the different aspects of it, because you're not simply business education, everything on this side. You are also getting ready to introduce an educational component to Web3.
Yeah, absolutely.
And NIL. So the name of the program, and what you guys are building now that will be operating out of this facility, because we do want to get into some of the cultural aspects of it too, but I want to make sure we touch on that. So that name of the program and what's to come.
So everything is still under the social studies sneaker industry education program banner. But what we realized over time, Chris, is in paying attention to some of the issues and some of the topics that we think people need to be empowered to learn and pay attention to, like Web3. I'm a big Web3 advocate, as you know. You've heard me for the last 2.5, 3 years talk about how Web3 could be useful with sneakers. So we're going to be introducing Web3 in a couple of ways here, through education, as in teaching people sort of like a unofficial Web3 for Dummies type programming, but also in the experience here when you come to the academy. So we have what is called the Bobbito Garcia Library of Laces. And it's a library of sneaker books and magazines, hip hop culture books, arts, all different kind of things that are derivatives and make up the literary base of our culture. Every single book is tagged with an NFC chip, which when you take the book out of the library as a lender, you'll be issued an NFT. So that NFT, managed through the blockchain, allows us to keep stock of the inventory of the books. So there's one entry point of getting people into Web3, because once you take a book out, you kind of have to sign up to easily gain access to the NFT and the related content that's on the NFT. So If Chris Burns has a book, which 2 of your books are here in the Library of Laces, but you also have other things that you offer, like clothes, like, you know, access to other things that people could purchase and patronize from you. That NFT will be the gateway to that, as well as being, you know, an inventory tracker for the book.
Now,
so
the NFC,
yep.
right? Funny enough, as the educational side begins to expand and people understand how the NFC chip allows it to be physically tracked,
yeah,
and the NFT allows it to be in the blockchain.
Yep.
You know, I keep holding these up because these are from, gosh, 2007, right?
The year
like,
OSD started.
You're naming the library, a digital library, after Cool Bob Love. And people probably, as much as people like to say that they are into sneakers, somebody doesn't know who that is. But he is the person that created this with Coach Sean Couch, who I think is from Brooklyn too. And the Coach Couch Foundation, they've done a lot to put guys in college. So I'm trying to tie all of this because you're also going to have an NIL component.
Right. Yes.
So I'm trying to tie everything together so people can get like this full scope, because it's a lot.
That's dope. That's dope, because it's
a lot.
It is the Bobbito Garcia Library of Laces. And then that's because Bob was the first one to pen the written love of sneakers in an article anywhere in a major publication, in the Source in 1991. And that was the birth of sneaker media. So all you guys at all these major media outlets who write about sneakers, you need to thank Cool Bob Love. He's basically the reason there is a sneaker culture. I go on record saying that all the time. Bob is a very humble dude. He'll never say it. Bob's record speaks for itself. Bob is the reason there is a sneaker culture, unofficially and officially.
Yeah.
You know, so
I don't think that the term sneakerhead existed before Bobbito.
In terms of his writing and how they reacted to it, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he was kind of the beginning, and I'm showing this because in Bounce, he took like Kemba Walker when he was in high school.
Look at right?
He had them in the sneakers, in the magazines. And he had a whole section in the basketball magazine where he got into a discussion on kicks.
Yep, absolutely.
On kicks. Now, this is 2007. All of your major websites, what people don't really understand, we were working. We didn't sit down and create websites that blew up. So you have these big websites now that came along and kind of co-opted what we were doing. So I had ads in here for my sneaker company, right? And I need to go find it so you can see it. But my sneaker company had ads in the Bounce magazine and in Dime magazine because of Bobbito. And I had that sneaker company in 2004. Had we sit down and created these websites and all of this stuff that these people get celebrated for, who ain't really did jack, but basically take a brand and profile it.
Right.
Had we done that, we'd be sitting around in a much bigger position. But when you're doing the work consumes.
Yes.
Because to do it the correct way is extremely hard.
Yeah.
And what you've done is thankless. Nobody comes around and says, yo, Sean Williams did that. Or yo, D Wells, man, he was on this. Nobody says it. And the fact that there's now a physical manifestation, a location, because this is one of those things where I have to bring this up. And you have the program for social studies. It has a physical location. It's got a digital library. It's going to do NIL work.
Yeah.
Which I cut you off before you could really explain what that is.
Yep, but I will.
And I want you to make sure you explain that. But there's so much, and you know what? Explain NIL, because I think a lot of people hear it and they think they know what they're talking about, but they don't quite get why it's important for sneaker culture to be heavily involved in the discussions and the laws or the opportunities around NIL. Go ahead and explain that, and then I'm going to get back to my rant.
Well, you did a great segue with showing Bobbito's Bounce magazine with all those ball players and stuff, because up until a couple of years ago, college basketball players could not be paid for their name, image, and likeness usage, which is what NIL stands for. So you talk about the Fab Five and UNLV, which is my favorite college basketball team of all time, and Duke, and all these other teams where there were stars, Carmelos, and, you know, their images and likeness was being used to sell a lot of product and make money for a lot of colleges and universities. And even in video games, which, you know, I believe the person who set off the discussion and fought for years was Ed Obannon from UCLA, who finally kicked off the conversation around, yo, our image and likeness is being exploited. And sure, you've given us a scholarship and an opportunity to play, but look at how much money you've made in return from that. So there was probably over a decades-long battle, which finally, you know, culminated in a change that became name, image, and likeness, NIL. So when you show Bob and Bounce magazine and a lot of those players from the early days, those are players who were popular, who weren't getting paid for their name, image, and likeness. And here in New York City, you know, one of the things that, you know, I've seen just over the years is a lot of kids get chewed up and spit out, and never being able to take advantage of what life could have afforded them off the court. So the relationship I have with a lot of basketball programs here in the city is really where the inspiration came, on top of, you know, like Bob and Bounce magazine, to really take it seriously, to teach name, image, and likeness. So we're definitely going to do that here, because we think even kids who in junior high school who are being exploited and pushed to go to certain high schools where there are relationships that extend to college, that extend to people getting money from brands and all of that stuff. Like, these kids are the chess pieces and all of that prosperity for other folks. They need to know that there's a piece of this where they can make their own money. And to be honest, you know, and this isn't a disrespect to any of the coaches of the programs, they're never going to teach that to their players.
Not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
So,
I don't think so. No.
Us being representatives of the culture on the level that we are, it just made sense for us to be able to sit a kid down and tell him about all the non-athletic things that he could partake in, including all the work off court that could get him into the sneaker industry, him or her into the sneaker industry. So name, image, and likeness just was sort of a no-brainer for us to decide was going to be a part of our expanded curriculum for social studies. The other piece too, which was definitely needed as a result of COVID, with everybody being in the house and, you know, everyone in, you know, our young people suffering a degree of social dysfunction, is we're going to be teaching networking and business relationships, how to network with folks, how to craft relationships, how to do good business with people, so that, you know, when you meet people, you understand how to take those relationships seriously and how to evaluate what your place is in each relationship and with people that you come across in life. You know, and that's also one that I think is a major problem with what happens with young kids into athletics. You know, coaches kind of overstep their bounds in certain places where they become more than a coach.
Yeah.
You know, and that really leads to not just the kid being exploited, but families being exploited.
True.
You know, monetarily, you know, time, emotionally, you know, you invest in the success of your kid. So if your kid is in a situation where they're being taken advantage of and you're right there, you're being taken advantage of too. So we're really interested in trying to make sure that young people of all kinds, you know, really are empowered to know where there's access to industry, education, and even in the real life situations that they're going to come across in school, as athletes, as students, as people out here in the world in general. So Web3, we know it's scary. We're going to introduce it in the easy way. Books, sneakers, art. We have an art gallery wall featuring every 2 months a new artist. That'll also be Web3 teched out. A small sneaker exhibition wall, theme will change every month. That'll also be teched out. So we want to use these things that people interact with every day as the vehicle to get people into Web3 tech. We want to use their everyday situations as athletes and students and people out in the world to introduce business relationships, NIL. You know, One of the other ones that we're really proud of, Chris, and I know you know full-heartedly how important this is. We're also going to be teaching what is IP, intellectual property, how to make money off of it, and how to protect it.
I think everything that you just covered, all of those different things are extremely important. And I want to transition a little bit now into more of the cultural stuff, because you said that in the facility, in that space, you can host art galleries and art exhibitions. You've already done that on a major scale.
Yeah.
Now, once again, and I'll keep nailing home the fact that the way sneaker websites are right now, kids don't see themselves as being able to create or land positions at these companies, because they're only steered towards design and consumerism.
Yeah.
So they think they can just buy it and then that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they only think that they can be resellers.
Yeah.
And if you ask a kid, 9 times out of 10, you ask a kid, hey, you ever been down to the bottom of the website on Nike and clicked on the careers tab? And 90% of kids will tell you no. They'll tell you no. They have never been to the careers tab on the website of any of these brands that they love. And if they did, they would be able to go in and see hundreds of jobs that are available that have nothing at all to do with at all. Now, we're going to switch from that to the cultural side, because you've done some exhibitions, and we are at, the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Yeah.
You've done exhibitions, dog. Your exhibitions have been so big and they never show up on these sneaker sites.
Oh, of course not.
And dog, I get infuriated. I'm like, they don't show anything that doesn't benefit them financially. And I'm not saying that people aren't supposed to make money. I'm simply saying that here's a brother who's showing the history. You're in books. You're in these books. I have books over here in the front. Other than the Bounce magazine, I have books from the Bobbito Museum that you're in.
Yeah.
That you curated with the people who run a gigantic museum. And you've also done these different presentations. Can you tell us the name of some of those events and who are some of the people you work with?
So I'm glad you mentioned that. We did the Rise of Sneaker Culture in 2013, started in Toronto. D and I were on the curation team for that. Shout out to Dion Walcott of Marked. We did that. It traveled to Brooklyn in 2015 at the Brooklyn Museum. It was the first major landing in the US, which was hometown. That ended up traveling, around the country and then to Australia, where, it finally had its, bow out. And we learned from that. And we learned that through dealing with certain organizations, you can't tell your story unadulterated and pure as you want to, because you're dealing with institutional politics. So from then, we started a exhibition series called From the Feet Up. So we do an exhibition franchise called From the Feet Up. The first one was called From the Feet Up, Sneakers Hip Hop in New York City, did in partnership with the Port Authority Bus Terminal of New York, New Jersey. That was the first time anyone in sneaker culture partnered with a government agency to do anything like what we did. And we were lucky in 88 days of residency to garner 9.8 million people in foot traffic and exposure. As a result of that,
I'm remixing it. I got to bring it back, bring that back. How many people saw this exhibition?
88 days of residency, 9.8 million people in foot traffic and exposure in this public art exhibition in the busiest bus terminal in the world. So shout out to Myron Johnson and Rudy King. After that, the next phase of From the Feet Up was just recently. It was called From the Feet Up, 50 Years of Beats and Sneaks at the Modern Contemporary in Jersey City, where we did sort of a concurrent timeline to show the inseparable marriage between sneaker culture and hip hop culture. So we showed 50 shoes spanning the years of 1973 to 2023. And then we also had a section on sneakers and sustainability. And then on one of the walls, I put sneaker quotes from about 10 songs that reference sneakers. And also, as you exit, you scan the QR code and you take the playlist from those songs with you as you leave. So,
I'm like, there isn't a single brand this year that's done a very good activation around hip hop and sneakers. Not one.
No. And that's okay, because we understand what the relationship is. Like, they've already kept it 100, right? Like last year, before we did this one this year, as a precursor, last year, again in partnership with the Port Authority Bus Terminal, we did sort of a 2-for-1 exhibition. We featured an unsung hip hop photographer. His name is Irving Panton, who has over 40 years of images. He was alongside the folks like Jamel Shabazz and Ernie Penacali and Joe Conzo, taking some of the same pictures. So he's an unsung hero in the culture. I gave him his debut exhibition. That was on one side of the space. And then on the other side of the space, we celebrated Cool DJ Red Alert's, at that time, 45th anniversary in the industry. So
DJ Red Alert, yeah.
People besides Mr. Magic, rest in peace, who's responsible for hip hop hitting major airwaves.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a celebration of his career on the other side of the same space in the exhibition. So it was a 2-for-1. And then when you went down the center panel art and description of the exhibition, we had a QR code which took you to an archive mix from 1982 of Red Alert on Kiss FM.
Wow.
So, and that in 50 days had 2.2 million people in foot traffic and exposure. So our exhibitions, just our last 3 since 2019, have garnered almost 12 million people.
There are museums that don't attain that level of patronage.
Yeah, and that's why we kind of like the partners that we have and we do what we do, because when you start talking about hours of operation and membership and cost, all of those things are prohibitive to people seeing and enjoying these stories.
Yeah.
So we're very picky with who we partner with to tell these stories, because it's all about access to these experiences. It's not about where it is and who can afford to see it, you know?
Yeah.
It's really always been about, like you said, making sure that the right stories are told, and quite honestly, that they don't get gentrified, because a lot of these publications out here are gentrifying our stories.
Completely.
So we wanted to take full control over it, which is another reason why the Academy exists, is to take full control of the narrative, of the power, of the empowerment, of the experience that we can give to the people. So that's really why we fought for the last 5 years to finally make this happen, because they were, major media and people will write us out any chance they get for $1. But they fail every time to remember that there are people here who have been paying attention to that and exactly what you do. The people you're pulling those tricks on, they're not of the experience to challenge what you just put in front of them. There's enough of us like me and you who are still here, and we are. So they're not going to get away with it as often as they think. We're never going to be celebrated on that level. And I've honestly, over the years, finally been okay with that. I'll probably never win any award of any kind, not that I'm looking for it, but we won't be acknowledged for those kind of efforts because they're too pure. They're too unadulteratedly raw. So we have to exist in our own space, and I'm okay with that.
Well, I'm celebrating you, and that's the perfect way to end this.
Thank you, brother.
I'm so proud of what you guys are doing, and I look forward to everything to come. Please let us know where we can find you, and we're going to wrap this up. Hit them with the socials.
Best space on LinkedIn, Sean O. Williams. On social media, Instagram is the fastest response, OSD_Paper Chaser. That's PAPERCHASR. Or the Social Studies Instagram, which is @Social Studies .ssca.
That's it. I appreciate you, and I'll see everybody on the next one. Thank you, sir. Salute, OSD.
Love you, brother. Thank you.